LATD Nation, what is good? We are once again back live with a new video straight from the studio. As always, this is RG from the 843, aka Rodney. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, partner in crime.
Well, this is your boy Jay. How y'all doing today, man? AKA King Jay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm good. What about you?
Man, I'm good, bro. We got a new segment for you. Well, not really a new segment.
We got
the 1v1 for y'all today, man.
Yes, sir. It's the second episode in this series, album versus album, aka album 1v1. And today we're going to discuss two of the greatest rap albums of all time.
Can I say it?
The two? Sure, I got you. Go ahead.
We're going to be doing Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly versus
Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I had to say it.
Oh, no, that's all good. Shoot, I was waiting on it. But all I know is these are two of the best two of our favorite albums of all time.
Two of the greatest albums ever made, period. Not even just in rap, just musically.
Oh, yeah.
Both albums are recognized on probably dozens of best of all time lists in music.
Oh, yeah.
Last I checked, in 2020, Fantasy in the updated like Rolling Stones edition, it ranked like 19th out of like 100 albums. So this album did not even be 10 years old. And, you know, at this point, knowing Kendrick, anybody who knows anything about him know that his reputation really precedes him at this point. Right. Long before the Drake beef, long before, you know, just any of the recent things that's surrounded his career. Kendrick Lamar has long been cemented as the greatest rapper of his generation, arguably.
Most definitely.
Well, inarguably, I'd say, personally.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
He's, you know, really gone on to become a legendary sort of mythical figure, not just in rap, but in music. And, you know, Kendrick, in this day and age, it really only seems like he's made music that, you know, even if it was made 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it seems like his music only gets more relevant with time, and I feel like that is no more evident than in To Pimp a Butterfly, because, you know, it's, you know, personally, it's never been my favorite Kendrick album. I know I'm in the minority when I say Mad City, I have over, and you know what? We'll do that for another day. Ranking Kendrick albums, we'll do that for another day.
Yeah, that's another video.
But yeah, To Remember Butterfly, what can we say that hasn't already been said? Monumental album, an album that should have won Best Album at the Grammys in 2016.
Easy.
An album that is today.
Didn't it win?
No.
What won over?
Kendrick's never won Best Album at the Grammys.
Huh.
I don't know who it was.
But it did win like Best Rap Album though.
Oh, for sure. It definitely won Best Rap Album.
That's the one thing I remember about it.
It's never won, like Kendrick's never won Best Album though.
Oh, well, we already know the reason why that is. But
yeah, that's a whole different conversation.
Let's go, come on.
Yeah, for sure.
That's my fault.
Matter of fact, I think it was Taylor Swift, which let's not even discuss that.
Yeah.
Let's not even discuss that. Let's stay on topic. That's a whole different debate. That's a whole different...
Yeah, that's a whole different debate, though.
Don't even get me started, man. As a Kanye fan in the 2010s, you already knew which side I was riding for.
Yeah.
Pause. But anyways, yeah. So Kendrick, you know, made timeless music. One of the greatest artists ever. An artist that will forever be cemented in the history books. To Pimp a Butterfly really put him in that conversation of greatest all-time rappers for a reason.
Exactly.
And, you know, like I said, what more can be said about the album? You know, legendary songs like All Right, King Kunta, which is in my top 5 favorite Kendrick songs of all time, Black and the Berry.
Definitely Black.
Just an album that it doesn't matter how many times you listen to. It's one of those albums where you always pick something up that you didn't with the previous listen. There's always something new to analyze. Right. There's always something new to kind of dive into, you know? Right. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I've loved this album as long as I have, because going back, listening to that album when I was like 16, 17 for the first time, I liked it, but it wasn't like I was in necessarily the best headspace to really enjoy it. because you know, being so young, a lot of the stuff that he's touching on in the album is kind of like, sort of like not advanced, but you know, the way in which he's speaking on it, there's so many layers and there's so much to it that, you know, it's really impossible to get everything from it, you know, with that first listen. So like, as I've listened to it over and over again, as I've gotten older, the way that I look at the album now versus the way that I did when I was 16, 17, changed so much. And that's really all of Kendrick's work in general.
Right, because my thing is with this album, at the time I listened to every single song except for Mortal Man because it was like 12 minutes.
Oh yeah, but it really ties the whole album. That's going to be probably one of my favorite outros of all time.
Oh no, most definitely, because I was listening to this album like back to back, like on back in like 22 when I would be at Mercedes working.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's a dance listen for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like the one thing about this album is that it has no skips.
Every
song leads into another so seamlessly, so timelessly. Like the jazz infusion of the music with the rapping and the lyricism. It's just an overall great album. But when I've listened to it entirely with Mortal Man at the end, I almost started tearing up because of the whole Tupac, the Tupac interview that he had at the end.
Exactly. And as a kid, like, I didn't understand the significance of that. Like, Kendrick talking to Pac, and a lot of the stuff that they're having a conversation about, like, it's almost like Kendrick almost saw into the future.
Yeah, oh yeah.
As far as, you know, what Pac says, what he says, you know, the kind of turmoil that we would see in America. Right. Things of that nature, you know, he really kind of sort of reached, because Pimp a Butterfly came out in 2015, and then by 2020, you know, we really see a lot of the civil unrest and the things that Kendrick was alluding to on Mortal Man. So, you know, that's just another example of how timeless this album is.
Exactly, because another one of my favorite song on here is Easily Alright.
Yeah,
it's by far
one of my favorite songs ever.
But also another one of my favorites is Wesley's Theory, the first song on the album.
Yeah, for sure. One of the greatest intros ever. Ever.
Because it's like, he talks about in Wesley's Theory how when he gets big, how some rappers will do, they'll buy a whole bunch of gold chains, and how America will treat you like the court. Well, I can't really say it the chorus, but for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like, one of my favorite parts about that album, about the song, which also shows up in Alright, is when he says, "What you want, your house, your car, 40 acres and a mule, a piano with guitar, anything." So my name is all the same, mommy dog.
You know you can live at the mall.
Right, exactly. Saying
how I can see the evil, I can tell it. I know it's illegal. That's an Alright, but
exactly. But the thing is, why that's so important to me. It's because it's pretty much saying, like, America saying, oh, you do all this, that, and third with your money. You can do whatever you want. This be how everything is kind of like an illusion.
Yeah.
How fame and fortune can be an illusion to a degree.
Which is a huge topic that he touched on in Pimp a Butterfly, but I feel like he may have elaborated on that a little bit more on Steppers. That's a whole different conversation about how, you know, celebrity does not bring integrity. You know, he talked about that on Rich Spirit.
J. Cole has said that many times, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, Love Yours, you know, things like that. But,
Middle Child and everything.
Definitely.
Another one of my favorite songs on here. Truth be told, I love this song from love this album from back to front.
I've loved it more as the years have gone on, because when I first listened to it, I respected it, but I didn't necessarily love it as much as a lot of other people do. And like I said, truth be told, it's still not one of my favorite Kendrick albums, but I appreciate it more than I did as a kid, because I was more of a Damn fan. I was much more of a Damn fan, because like the era, like the visuals, you know, the tour, the music videos, the actual music, it just, Damn for me was just so much more monumental to me personally. Not to take away from what To Pimp a Butterfly is, because I do believe musically, sonically, it is his best album. I do think To Pimp a Butterfly is Kendrick's overall best body of work. But for me personally, Damn just means more. It always meant more for me, just like the era of not just his career, but where I was at in my life. I have a lot more fond memories with Damn. Like, Damn was really like the soundtrack to my life. Like not even one of it. It was like the soundtrack to my life when it dropped in 2017 and 18. So that's just me personally. But you know, I've always respected To Pimp a Butterfly. Like I said, I is in my top 5 Kendrick songs of all time. To this day, every time I listen to it, I just can't help but smile just because of the message and everything. Did you prefer the actual promotional single version of I, or did you prefer the album version?
The single version.
Really?
Personally, that's because that's just the one I heard first.
That's the one I heard first.
Right. Too, yeah. I just prefer. I would always prefer that one because I like what Kendrick does in the album version, but the single version to me is just as for like the song itself really. Is
okay, I got you.
I like it so much.
Yeah, I got you because the album version is almost more sort of like, I don't even know how to describe. You listen to 808s by Kanye.
Right.
It reminds me of Pinocchio story.
Okay.
Just like, you know, the vocals being raw, you know, not really being necessarily put together as a song per se, more of a performance and more of like sort of almost like I guess like a poetry session in a way.
Right.
Towards the end, yeah.
No, I definitely agree. Like I like the album version too, but I just prefer it more sonically and musically the single version.
I can understand that for sure.
But yeah,
both the two of my favorite songs.
Another good song on this album that was, like I said, all these songs are good. But another standout was You. Like after you listen to These Walls,
where he's crashing out.
You're right, and he said exactly. He said after like These Walls, he said. I remember we were conflicted. I could
misusing your influence.
Right, and then he's skipping a few. Like I can hear screaming a hotel room. Then he screams. Then the song starts with him screaming.
Yeah.
I'm like, golly. Like,
and see, that's one of the that's one of the examples where I say that the album is so different from me now than it was when I was a kid because I couldn't relate to a You. I didn't understand like what he was trying to do with that song. I understood that it was a good song, but I didn't realize like the significance of what he was trying to say, what he was trying to illustrate. And that's just what great art does. It kind of moves with you as you get older. You know, the way you look on it today as a 15, 16-year-old, you're going to look at it completely different 10 years later.
Right.
And I think that that's one of the greatest feats with this album is just like how much it's managed to stay relevant through the years.
Because the song but also another song, You Ain't Gotta Lie.
That's Ain't Gotta Lie to Kick It.
Yeah, because that's one of my favorite songs as well. That's the song that really resonated with me the most because like back in the day, I used to kind of try to fit in everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Try to act this way, act that way. Like I used to kind of, I used to be not a jerk, but I used to kind of make fun of a lot of people. But then people make fun of a lot of me.
Yeah.
A lot of me. People make fun of me too. But it's like I was trying to just try to look cool in front of everybody. Then next thing you know, I started looking dumb in front of everybody. So I'm like, man, let me just be myself.
Yes.
Like, and after listening to this, I'm like, you ain't got to try so hard. You ain't got to lie to kick it. You know what I'm saying? That's like I feel like a lot of younger people should listen to that song.
Yeah,
because it's like
just such a especially now.
It's relatable,
especially now in this era of like Instagram and Snapchat and everybody trying to look cool, for the gram. Kendrick was really ahead of. I mean, it's a timeless theme, the idea of trying to fit in and act cool, but I feel like it's more relevant now just because of how the world has changed.
Right, because the thing is, you're going to look dumber trying to be something you're not.
Facts.
And people will respect you more when you're doing something, when you like actually being yourself, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I feel like this song really resonates well with this time, like you said.
Yeah, I completely and totally agree, for sure. I'll say one of my biggest highlights on this album, aside from, because, like, there's so many memories that I have with this album. Like, King Kunta, like, I remember being a kid, like, just being in my room, just dancing to the video and whatnot. To this day, I'll still be doing the dance, I ain't gonna lie to you. So that's one of my favorite music videos. Like, just like even the beginning, like when he's rolling through like Compton and everything, like hey, I'm back in the hood. Like it brings back so many memories. That and the All Right video where it's him, Rock, Q, and Soul, and they all in the car and everything.
And then the police officers carrying it and everything.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is that song actually was supposed to be released, but I think like it ended up getting lost like on a hard drive or something.
Right.
Like
I was
that.
trying to find that song for the longest, like, because we were talking about "To Pimp a Butterfly," another classic CD. I'm like, this is hard. Like, where is this going?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. Those whole music videos. All I know is when I got my car, I was
blasting all right.
I started blasting all right and King Kunta because it was like, because I'm like, where was y'all when I was walking? Now, you know
yeah.
I got a new car and everything because it's like, you know.
And I also remember like the SNL performance that he did of, I think it was I.
It was I.
Yeah, that performance right there. I remember watching that like in high school, like on the way to school in the morning. I remember watching that performance. I was just like, man, this is like different. Like, cause he had like the pupils, like everything like blacked out.
Yeah.
Like he had the contacts and everything, and he had his hair like half like unbraided or whatever.
Right.
Like how he had in that episode of Power.
Yeah.
Where he was like a crackhead.
He played a crackhead named Laces.
Yeah.
So I remember, like, and even bringing that, he's a surprisingly good actor.
He's just talented. I mean, he's just truly a one of a kind talent for sure. I would have loved to see him do more acting for sure.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Because the thing is, man, it's just this album, man. I don't know what else to say I don't know what else more you can say about it.
Because for me to say that it's not my favorite Kendrick project, it's crazy though, because when I really think about like this album still does mean a lot to me. It is still one of my favorite albums of all time.
Right. It's just not true.
It's just like, but when I think about all of the memories and everything about this album, it's just like, man, this album was really something of significance for me. Like I said, that King Kunta video, I still have that thing on replay to this day. The All Right video, the I video. Yeah, and that was the promotional single version. Mm-hmm. Where he's walking through like Compton and everything, and everybody's kind of like running after him and everything. Yeah,
right. And then this guy, and then one scene in that this guy is, not well. He's like, it's like they show a scene where he's about to, I don't, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But then he just looks outside and sees Kendrick, and then it's just like he just stops automatically.
Because it's just like this idea that Kendrick is just giving the city of Compton hope, just like how like his mom talked about on Mad City, where like it was at the end of Real, where where she said, when you make it out, don't forget where you come from, and give back, and tell your story, and let these like little black and brown kids know that you were just like them. Right. And be an inspiration, be a voice for change. And we see that continued through Pimp a Butterfly, through Damn, through everything like that. That's always been the thing that made Kendrick one of my favorite artists.
Oh yeah, same, bro.
Because it was just like his story, like for him to come from where he came from, where he started, Section 8 housing. Family was more than dirt poor to where he's at today. Right. It's just amazing. There's so many things in Kendrick's life that could have gone wrong, but he really always stayed the course, and he stayed true to himself, and that's something that I think really a lot of people should and really can resonate with. And
right, and that's why he's such a big inspiration for us.
Exactly. Like like I say, he's one of my favorite artists. Like he's one of the most like important figures in my youth as far as like, creative inspiration and things like that. Like just the way Kendrick always moved, the way that Kendrick always carried himself was always a big inspiration for me. Oh, yeah. So, Pimp a Butterfly, I don't know what else you can say about it.
Right.
I feel like this video is already like 30 minutes long, but it's all good.
Right, definitely. Now let's get to there's nothing else really to say.
There's really nothing else to say. And to be real, there's really nothing else you can say about Fantasy in a sense.
But let's get to that.
You want to take this first? He's my favorite artist, so
I'll go
I've been talking about this album for almost 10 years. You go ahead. I want to hear what you got.
I started re-listening to it today, and it's really, 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 really good. Like I do feel it like the same way you feel about Pimp a Butterfly on your top favorite Kendrick list. It's kind of the same way I feel about Fantasy.
Ironically,
because it's like this is easily his best album, but my personal favorite
isn't that.
Yeah, it's not yet. My personal favorite is honestly Graduation.
I feel that.
But my thing is just listening to it all, and how it starts off with Dark Fantasy. Can we get much higher?
I was listening to that this morning. Nicki's. Don't even start me. I'll let you say what you need to say because I'm.
Can we get much higher? So high. You know what I'm saying? Like I just started listening to that. I just started looking at the sky. It's like, man, this is heavenly, man.
Like
it's beautiful out here.
Just the imagery that song paints, like that. Another one of the greatest intros of all time, easily.
Right.
That might be his best intro, low key.
Oh yeah, no, like by far. Like my thing is, well,
it's that and We Don't Care. If you ask me, it's between them two.
Yeah, my favorite intro is honestly in
or even Ultra Lightning, matter of fact, but that's a whole different video.
That's a whole other video.
Good
Morning is definitely another good one.
Good Morning for sure.
Because they used to resonate with me so well because it's like I was in high school listening to
for sure, yeah.
Literally listening to Graduation, and the thing is when it's
the day of graduation,
you got these muff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's all I had in classes at the time. Just these Rosie Perez and Yes Barely Passed any and every class. You get what I'm saying though.
Wake up, Mr. West, Mr. Fresh, Mr. By himself. He's so impressed, man.
I mean, yeah.
Take me back, man.
But yeah, no, this album. It does resonate with me as well. I feel like the reason why, but it doesn't really like have such a big impact for me because I kind of heard a lot of these songs anyway. Just kind of in passing.
Yeah, but you didn't really experience it as a project,
right? Not as a project, like Butterfly. But but I still enjoyed it for what it was. Like Gorgeous is another one.
Mm-hmm.
You already know Power is just like when you put this on when I put this on,
that's an anthem. That's an anthem right there.
Like when I put this on,
he was on one with that.
Oh yeah, he definitely was, man. I felt powerful just listening to it. That's why I was able to bench press 300 personal milestone the other day. You know, all of the lights, a beautiful,
my favorite Kanye song of all time. Very possibly my all-time favorite song ever.
One thing that I do love about this album though is how it'll always go from beautiful and heavenly to also dark and gritty.
It's maximalism at its finest.
Exactly.
It's the most maximalist, just the most overt, just grandiose version of Kanye that we have ever seen, probably ever will see.
Yeah, most
especially now with how he moved today.
Right, yeah, because the thing is, like, I miss this version. I miss the old Kanye.
When he was focused, when he was really just locked in. Because have you heard the backstory of Fantasy?
No.
Have you heard of how it came together? It's legendary.
I did watch Shout Out FB Signifier. I did watch his video on Kanye though.
For sure.
But it's like I just hate that kind of for him. I kind of hate that for him because it's like, man, you know this man ain't well.
Yeah.
We all know this man isn't well, but you know it is what it is. He's still a grown man.
But just to briefly interject the backstory of Fantasy, because we all know the Taylor Swift thing. I'm gonna let you finish. Whatever the case may be. When he was booed off that stage. Everybody in America had made him public enemy number one, which, to be fair, is kind of deserved.
What he said about George Bush.
I mean, but this was after that though. This was 5 years later.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because George Bush was in 2005. This was this was 4 years later because this was 2009.
Okay.
So after this, Kanye essentially he moved out of America entirely. He left the States. And he went into this self-imposed exile. And he talked about it on Ellen, where he said that he left America, he moved to Rome, he moved to Japan, and then ultimately he moved to Hawaii. And when he was in Hawaii, this was when he called just about every artist that was relevant in hip-hop at the time and flew them all out there for this legendary recording session where what he would do, he had rules in the studio. You could only dress in suits or business wear when you was recording. Kanye slept on the floor. He didn't really even stop to do much anything other than record and produce. Everybody in there, you had Drake. You had, which is funny to think about now, considering how those two ended up.
I got you.
Yeah. You had Rihanna. You had Kid Cudi, who was at the biggest point in his career at that time.
Jay-Z, Rick Ross,
Pusha T, Bon Iver, just everybody. He had everybody. He came back. This album, it was a year after the Taylor Swift thing. He came back to the VMAs and he premiered Runaway in this red suit, and he pushed, like he played that first note on the piano, whole crowd went insane. Pusha T came out and he delivered that legendary verse that, you know, obviously many people regard as the best of his career. And what Fantasy, basically what it was Kanye's comeback. Because at this time, Kanye was thought of as having ruined his career, because before, when he had released 808s, at the time, people didn't like 808s because it was such a huge departure from what he had done previously. People didn't really feel it, because 808s was ahead of its time, not just with the themes, but, you know, him singing, the auto-tune. This was way before Travis. This was way before Juice WRLD. Right. Which that album pioneered, you know, that sound and that style, by the way, I'm just saying.
Right. T-Pain being the unsung hero of that album.
Kid Cudi 2 was another one, for sure. But yeah, so 808s came out in 08. People didn't really like it. People kind of dismissed it. So he was considered to have been falling off at that point. And then once the Taylor Swift thing happened in 09, people were at the time like, oh yeah, no, his career is over. Like, he can't recover.
So in his mind, he's thinking about like, let me get back on the good side.
Yes, literally. He even has gone on record and said that he made Fantasy basically as like an apology, basically as an, I understand how to make perfect, and if y'all not gonna accept me back, I'm gonna force my way back in. Right. And that's exactly what he did with this album.
So that's why Runaway is probably such a timeless song.
That's why Runaway is considered to be his best song, not just because of how great it is in terms of the production and the way he put it together. It's also just because of what it meant to his career. It's his most important song.
Because the thing is with Runaway, I didn't really see it as an apology. Well, no, yeah, as an apology.
It's an acceptance of who he is.
Sorry, but I'm gonna be myself regardless. And if you can't understand that, run away.
Yes,
that's what I wanted to say to my
ex.
But
he's kept that same energy all these years later, for better and worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Most definitely.
Like I'm gonna sing that song to my ex one day. But anyway. Run away, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm always finding something wrong, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
I had to make that joke.
Nah, it's all good. But yeah, this out. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about it?
Oh no, I was just gonna say "Runaway" literally is my favorite song. That was just a little joke.
Yeah.
But no, it's like, because I do like the fact that it's just telling you like, hey, this is who I am. This is who I'm gonna be. Either you like it or you don't. Run away. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, my thing is, like, this album,
masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece, man. Like I said,
one of the greatest albums ever made.
Oh yeah, it's not my favorite, but I can understand completely why everyone loves it, especially you.
Oh yeah.
Why everybody loves it the way they do, because it's masterful.
What this album means to me,
like, it jumps tones in a very clever way.
Yes.
To say that, I'm very like light, I'm very, kind-hearted and this, that, and the third, but I'm also a monster as well.
Yeah, it's the duality of Kanye for sure. It definitely is the duality of Kanye. It's like you really see his best and his like brightest, most cocky, most arrogant, but also his most vulnerable, his most sensitive, his most sort of like stripped of his ego, essentially, with Fantasy. And it's just like, you done?
Yeah. No,
okay. So, because I'm about to.
You done?
Are you finished? I'm gonna let you finish. But yeah.
Matter of fact, this mic.
But yeah, no. So Fantasy, for me, I don't even know where to begin. Honestly, this is my second favorite album of all time, as we previously established. Jay-Z's Blueprint is my favorite album ever. But Kanye, and we're gonna have to do like a full video on Kanye one of these days for sure. But Kanye, keep it short and, simple. As I said before, he's my favorite artist of all time. There's no other artist whose music has resonated with me the way his has, or probably ever will.
Right.
What he meant to me, as a kid, and what he even to a degree still means to me is like, this guy right here was like, he was like the soundtrack. Like, it's like he was like essentially all of his albums was just like the background, like the soundtrack to my life for years and years. And it still is to a degree, but Fantasy, for me, You know, and everybody says Fantasy is his best album. I agree with that 100%. But for me, what makes Fantasy his best album is not just the music, it's the story and the message leading up to the release. Because as I established, you know, this was in the time where his career was really in jeopardy. And, you know, people were kind of getting sick of Kanye because of the antics and everything. But this album really, like, kind of reinforced the thing that we've always known with Kanye. You know, Kanye may do some stupid stuff, say some stupid stuff, but when it comes to the music, nobody can do it quite like him, at least back then. Because just the intro, like we said, Dark Fantasy, you know, Can We Get Much Higher, you know, just him, just this excess, like Fantasy. Fantasy just is like, it sets the tone perfectly because it's just like, he's just going so excessive on everything. Like, it's the most maximalist, you know, version of him we've ever seen, you know, from the production, you know, the choir in the background, the lyrics, his delivery. He sounds as arrogant and as cocky as ever. And it just sounds like he's just accepted, you know, oh yeah, no, ain't nobody higher than me in this rap game. You know, I am, you know, on top of this game. Nobody can match me whatsoever. We'll have that debate eventually. But yeah, continue with Power. One of the greatest gym anthems of all time. One of his most anthemic songs. And a song that, you know, needs no introduction. Gorgeous was before that on the album. You know, it kind of sort of like, he really does a good job of establishing the themes and the atmosphere with the first couple of songs, because it's just like this idea of just this excess, this celebrity, you know, like me being this famous, insanely influential, extremely critically acclaimed musician that regardless of all the hate y'all might throw at me, at the end of the day, I'm still gonna stand and I'm still going to be Kanye West. I'm still, you know, something that none of you haters will ever be able to match. That's why he says on Power, you know, Scream from the Haters got a nice ring to it. Because he's just saying that, yeah, y'all can hate all y'all want, but at the end of the day, I'm still Kanye.
Facts.
Which, that really meant something back then, for sure, for sure. But yeah, my favorite songs on this album, All of the Lights is my favorite Kanye song of all time. You know, especially like the end towards the end where he's like, we're going all the way. It's time you hear Drake, you hear Rihanna, and you just hear like the melody and everything, just the instrumentation, just the production. Everything about that song is just, you know, him basically saying, turn all the lights on, you know, I am this insanely, you know, controversial, insanely beloved but hated figure at the same time, and regardless, I'm gonna take all of it. It doesn't matter like what it is y'all throw at me, regardless, you know, I'm that guy.
Right.
You know, Devil in a New Dress, which another one of his best songs ever. Yeah. You know, just him talking about, you know, put your hands to the constellations, the way you look should be seen, my sensation, just the production. Rick Ross gave one of the greatest verses ever in his career, easily. It's just like basically him kind of reflecting on himself and who he is, and kind of sort of just taking you into his perspective on everything. You know, he's basically saying, you know, I may be so-and-so, but, you know, I am who I am, you know, right. Which is kind of similar to like Pimp a Butterfly in a sense, where it's like he's kind of like accepting who he is. He's not necessarily begging for forgiveness, but he's telling you that he's here to stay no matter what. He's not going to, you know, reach for anybody's approval, anybody's acceptance. I'm just me, which is continued on Runaway, which, you know, we've already talked about Runaway, his greatest song, one of the greatest songs by a rapper ever, one of the greatest music videos probably ever, a song that, like I said, really revitalized his career. It's his most important song.
Right.
I don't think he will ever reach that level of artistry ever again. And this was him in his prime. This was him at his absolute best.
Yeah, like my favorite run from him was really just his like college run, really.
Yeah.
Like late registration, college dropout, My favorite song by Kanye might be "I Wonder." To be honest,
that's another one of my favorites by him.
Like, but my most personal song was "Spaceship" on College.
Yeah, for sure. That was him at his most relatable. That was when, you know, he was still in that mindset of just being that average like kid, just trying to find his way through life. By Fantasy, he's just become this figure that's just like all about celebrity and excess and, you know, things of that nature. But Fantasy, you know, everything about that album, the visuals, you know, the red suit, you know, the Monster. I don't know if you've ever seen the Monster video, which of course Monster is a huge milestone for Nicki's career in particular. That's when people really started to pay attention to Nicki.
Yeah, she probably had one of the best verses on that song.
I venture to say that is the best verse on that song for sure.
Okay.
Monster, cool. Yeah, the Nicki verse is iconic. Everybody knows it at this point. You know, really kind of introduced Nicki Minaj to a wider audience, whatever the case may be. But yeah, Fantasy, just like I said, the visuals, the kind of creativity. Because for me, the thing about Fantasy is that album kind of embodies everything that his career had been throughout that point. It was, you know, loss, love, you know, controversy. It was everything that was Kanye West as an artist rolled into one. It was everything that he had learned. You know, you have a lot of the lush sort of orchestration of Late Registration. You've got the soul sample, like Devil in a New Dress, like with College Dropout. You've got, you know, the auto-tune and sort of the vocal manipulation with Gorgeous from 808s. It just was it was everything that Kanye was as an artist rolled into one. It was him at his absolute best.
The lyricism from Graduation.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a lot of his best rapping performances for sure.
Yeah, it's all his previous albums, quality wise, all rapping.
Oh yeah, exactly. And you know, so this album pretty much not only did it cement him as an all-time great, it just the influence with that album, like the maximalism, like you see with like somebody like a Travis, you know, the vulnerability. Yeah, exactly. So this album did everything it needed to do. It reestablished his career, made him bigger than ever, and then obviously we see it continue like residually throughout his career. Watch the Throne, Jay-Z, classic collab album.
One thing I wish we did get was a collab album between Kendrick and Cole. We could have been talking about that today versus Watch the Throne.
That's never happening.
It's never.
I hate to say that it's never happening. Cole was on an interview with Angie Martinez back in 2018. He said it would have been easier to do it back when they were younger. So that's definitely not happening, especially after, you know, this past spring. But
still could.
But it's not gonna happen. I've been gave up hope at this point. But yeah, it is I wish truly.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, Ye definitely.
I'm sorry.
But Ye, as far as Fantasy goes, that's my favorite album by him. It's my favorite artist of all time. It was him at his best. And then the run that he went on after that, Watch the Throne, Yeezus, Life of Pablo, classics. If you ask me, Kanye hit a 6P, which is a very controversial opinion. But we'll talk about that at some point. But yeah, I've been said everything that needed to be said about this album. Almost 10 years ago at this point. I've been talking about this album.
I'm gonna put it later. We're gonna put up a poll on Instagram,
and we're gonna see, you know, what y'all can. Cause I mean, we've kind of given the background and everything about it, but it's kind of open for interpretation. Personally, we've kind of argued like it's my favorite album of the two, just because of what it means to me. What it means, Pimp a Butterfly is your favorite album by Kendrick, and you know that's your album of choice in this matter because of what it really means to you.
Most definitely.
But obviously, you know, for me, I'm going Fantasy. You know, for me, if you want to get into the thing that I would say about Pimp a Butterfly over Fantasy, definitely the lyricism. We already know. Don't even need to have that conversation. Kendrick Lamar is far and away a better lyricist than Kanye ever was, even at the height of his career.
Really ever will be.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I've been saying Kendrick is a better rapper than Kanye. But musically, I feel like Fantasy and Pimp a Butterfly are on the same level.
Yeah.
That's a controversial opinion for sure. Impact-wise, that's... You know what I can say? Impact in terms of the end of it. Because I feel like Fantasy is the extreme of what the impact had for an individual career versus what Pimp a Butterfly had just on a cultural and social level.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
So I would say that you could argue Pimp a Butterfly is probably more culturally significant, but that's not to take away from Fantasy, just because of the fact that, Fantasy is considered to be one of the greatest rap albums ever. And Kanye was is still such a massive figure. And, that album was just sentimental. That album was monumental for his career too, and just music in general.
Yeah, most definitely.
It created a lot of timeless eras, or a lot of timeless, era-defining, moments. It did a lot. But if you want to argue that Pimp a Butterfly is more culturally significant, I can't be mad at that.
Right. For me, these albums are more like 50-50, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, musically, they're dang near dead even.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're dang near dead. Like, enjoyability is almost dead even.
For me, it's Fantasy, but go ahead.
Okay, I'll say it's Butterfly for me. But, but it's like, it's almost, because it's like they're two artists, like, really at the heights of their careers. So it's kind of, so this can kind of go either way for me.
I feel like,
personally.
And not to cut you off, I feel like the thing about Pimp a Butterfly versus Fantasy is that Fantasy was Kanye's comeback, and Pimp a Butterfly was Kendrick's sort of like
breaking out.
Mad City was...
Mad City.
Pimp a Butterfly was his established album. That was the album that really established him as, you are exactly what we thought you were. Because at the time, when Good Kid, Mad City came out, it was like, he created a great album. He created an amazing debut album, major label, at least, because, Section 80 came before that, but it was independent. Right. But it was like, at the time, it was like Kendrick hadn't cemented himself. It was like, can Kendrick do this again? So for Kendrick to double down and make an album that somehow managed to be leaps and just bounds ahead of Mad City, that cemented what kind of artist Kendrick Lamar was. And then Damn, for me, was always, I look at it was a 3-album arc. Mad City was his introduction and his first sort of showcase. Pimp a Butterfly was his established, basically, he's here and he's here to stay. And this is an artist that's going to make timeless music for years and years to come. And Damn was his home run.
Oh, yeah.
Damn was his victory lap. Damn was his victory lap for me. Because once Damn, really even before Damn came out, once Humble came out, and it did the kind of numbers that it did, and then once the album came out and you had hits like DNA, Love, Loyalty, it really just was Kendrick
Pride.
Yep, for sure, one of my favorite Kendrick songs, but Damn was really his victory lap for me.
Right.
Because by that point it was like, Kendrick is just that guy. Kendrick is just whatever he does at this point. He's established that kind of career. He's established that sort of pedigree. And it was impressive because he did all of that before he was 30. So it was just Kendrick was 29 when Damn came out.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. By that point, that just established for Kendrick to really establish himself as one of the greatest rappers ever before the age of 30. It was insane. That's why we give him grace for Steppers taking as long as it did and it still being as, anticipated. Because, by that point, this is an artist that has shown himself to be the greatest of his generation.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right, because arguably you can kind of say, no disrespect to Kanye, but he's kind of been, on a downward spiral.
He has.
Because the thing is, as you were saying...
Musically, he has.
Right.
There's no denying that.
Right. Because as you were saying, when Kendrick, this is Pimp a Butterfly, it's his establishment, his pretty much him planting his flag.
Yes.
This is like Fantasy is very much so Kanye's like you said.
That was his comeback moment.
Comeback moment, but it's a very big comeback. Like
it was a statement.
Like it was like I'll put it like this: Kendrick planted his flag.
Yeah.
No question. Kanye, all the flag was already planted, but when he came back with Fantasy, he just took a bigger flag and just replanted it.
Yeah, I don't know for sure.
So it's like I like the compare and contrast with their careers. Like Kendrick definitely starting and staying versus Kanye starting, staying, and then kind of falling but coming back. You know
yeah, because by that point Kanye had 3 legendary albums. A 4th album that would eventually be recognized as a classic in time, but at the time it wasn't as appreciated. And then he came back with an album that was better than anything he had done before, including those first 3 legendary projects. So,
exactly.
You know, both albums are the 2 most important albums of their careers for their own reasons, if you ask me. Whether it's socially, whether it's their own personal career, it just was both them albums are just so monumental, just in the culture, just everything.
To be honest, I don't got there's nothing else really that I gotta say, bro.
I mean, not really me either. But for sure, we definitely gonna do a breakdown of Ye's career at some point. Definitely do Kendrick, especially with this added whole, the pop out tour, well, not even a tour, the pop out concert and everything that just recently happened,
definitely.
That kind of putting a bow on this whole feud that he had with Drake, which stay tuned. Definitely part 2 of that video is coming. We ain't forgot about it.
Oh yeah,
definitely got to have a last word on that.
You know, have our boy Chili Bear back on here
for sure. You know, definitely look out for that. We're gonna be breaking down all of the disses that came out, because at the time when we did our first video, I think it was only Euphoria that was out at that point.
You right.
Yeah, it was only so this was forever ago. So it was only up to Euphoria. So look forward to this part 2. We're gonna be talking about Family Matters, 616 in LA, Meet the Grams, and of course, Not Like Us.
Not Like Us.
You know,
nail in the coffin.
Yeah, not even the nail, more so like
the hammer.
Yeah, like him digging the coffin back up, spitting on it, dancing on it,
and then jumping on it, and then stomping it back down.
Literally. You know, a lot of people said the pop out concert was kind of sort of his victory lap. You know,
I agree.
We're definitely gonna break that down. We're gonna break down all of the lyrics with each and every side. We're gonna break down how each artist moved, where we think one artist went right, where they went wrong, and you know, it's just gonna be a good analysis. There's a lot that needs to be said, and honestly, you know, we've been talking about doing this part 2 for a while, but it was like we kind of just wanted to let the dust settle at the time, because we didn't really know whether or not it was going to continue, where it was going to end. But
exactly.
You know, the Heart Part 6 kind of was sort of Drake bowing out, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah. We'll get to that.
Oh, for sure. But you know what? I'm pretty much done.
Same here, bro. Like, hey man, leave in a comment what y'all think about the albums. You know, choose your side.
We're gonna put a poll on the story on Instagram to see what y'all are feeling, whether it's Fantasy more so or Pimp a Butterfly. We'll let the audience decide.
Yeah, we'll let the audience know.
We'll let the fans figure it out.
Yes, sir. I'm on Team Pimp Butterfly all day.
And you know me, I'm Fantasy all the way.
Yes, sir. But with that being said, man, I've been Jay, bro.
And this has been Rodney.
And we're LATV, man. Look at the details, y'all. Peace.